Good morning and welcome to the Oasis Center for Spiritual Living, where we come together as one, providing spiritual tools for daily living. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Reverend Tucker. I'm the senior minister here at the Oasis, and I have this wonderful team that God has provided me that I always like to introduce because I couldn't do this without them. So it's really important to me that they're here. So the first one is my faithful assistant, Faith, who has basically been my assistant since the day she was born. Her dad brought her to church. I think she was like 3 weeks old the first time she came. And he used to work the soundboard for us. So he had her in one hand and the soundboard in the other hand. And when she was old enough to crawl, she crawled right up on stage. And I kind of left her there. I was using a mobile mic at the time. So, I just step over her and she just kind of played up there and had a great old time. And then we'd put her on the podium and have her do announcements with us. And I think people paid attention to the announcements better when you were there. So it was perfect. And then as she and her sister got older, they started doing ushering, where they were handing out affirmation cards like we used to do every Sunday. And then her dad was a tow truck driver. She grew up like 6 blocks from my house. And he would go on out of town tows and he would drop the girls at my house. And, I'm a project person. I always have some project going on. And so Faith and Hannah, I got to see how they worked. And so when Faith was 14 and a half, she said, I want a real job. She'd been doing nannying and babysitting. And she goes, I want a real job. And I said, okay. So I hired her for my ozone business. And here we are today. What was that? 6 years ago, something like that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, because you're 20. So yeah, it was exactly 6 years ago. Because you started in like August or something. And when we went live for the pandemic, I asked her if she wanted to be my ministerial assistant. And she's like, yeah, let's do that. So she is the person behind the scenes, kind of like with the Wizard of Oz, when you pull back the curtain, instead of an old man, you find her. So she answers all the, if you say hi, hello, good morning, which is how we like you to greet us, she's the one who answers you. And I go back later and look just to make sure there aren't any questions that people had that she didn't answer. But it's only happened like twice in the last 4 years. So she's pretty good at anticipating what I would say because she knows my brain really well. But we like it when you say hi, hello, good morning, because in a facility, I can look out and see the shining faces beaming back at me. Here, I get a number. I don't even get, names or anything. So it's really nice to know what audience I have. And if you stop by later, please say hello, just so that I know you stopped by. It's always good to know that the message is getting out to people. Anyway, and so she's also our soloist. And today she's going to be singing Thoughts Become Things by Reverend Fairy Lane Silver. We tried it a couple weeks ago, but she was sick. And so we played the video from YouTube, and I think they're going to mute us. I do have permission, and I can fight it, but I don't know if it's worth fighting over because it's a lot of work to get them to stop muting us. So anyway, she's going to be singing that song today. Thank you so much for being here, love. I love you. All right. And then we have the wise and powerful Oz, my partner in crime, who's been with me since 1998 when he took his first class at the Denver church with me. And he took all of his training to become a practitioner and became a practitioner, and then was my board president for 7 or 8 years. And then moved away to Florida, so I lost the ability to have him in the service. So when we went live for the pandemic, I asked him if he would be willing to serve as our practitioner of the day, and he's been doing so ever since. So for 4 years, almost every Sunday. Oh my gosh. And what that means is that he does the invocation and the benediction, and then he's available for a 1-minute miracle at the end. So I so appreciate you, Oz. Thank you. I love you. I could not do this without my team, including those that are an adjunct sound or music team. Reverend Fairy Lane Silver is one of them that asked me to use her music. Karen Drucker is another one. They don't appear on screen, but she donated her entire collection to us, which was like 20 CDs worth. And so it allows us to have a regular Sunday service, so you actually have music and everything instead of listening to me talk for an hour. I couldn't listen to anybody talk for an hour. And I probably couldn't fill a whole hour. I don't know. There are times when I could, I think, because I do get sidetracked and then, and we run over a little bit. So also I want to acknowledge Albertina Giuffre, who sings for our special events like Christmas and Mother's Day and Father's Day and Memorial Day. And, she calls it the crying season. But we call her Tina. And that is our adjunct sound or music team. So I'm really pleased to be able to introduce all of them. We are on a journey here using my book, 10 Weeks on the Road to Prosperity. We're on stop 4 this week, which is the intention stop, and I will talk more about that later, but that is our topic for today. So let's see. There's a watch party button that you can press and invite all your friends so they can have an idea of what Sunday services are like here. And you can answer any questions they might have because it's a private chat. So you can talk back and forth without bothering anybody else. I'd like to invite you to right now close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Allow the service to uplift and inspire you as we move into our centering song.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
The presence of God, always everywhere, always right here, right now. For God, if eternal, and God, if all-powerful, must be all-present and must be right here, right now, wherever and whenever we are. For it is all within that one greater being that we talk of when we speak of God. I know that God's presence is right here, right now with me and with you wherever you are and whenever you are. And I know that the infinite power can be applied into this moment. And I know that our intent directs that power into shapes and forms that we could not have even imagined, funneling through our steering. I know this is a good thing, and I give thanks for these blessings that flow with infinite power through our intention. I allow this to be so, and I let it be. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Oz. This next song is one that Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver wrote while she was in practitioner training. And it's a song about how connected we are. So it's a great meme to get stuck in your mind because it reminds us of how connected we are to the entire universe.
We are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. I hear it and know it, my being. Spirit is all I am seeing. to infinite light, knowing the love that's surrounding me is within me by day and night. And we are all one, we are all one, we are all one in it. Yes, we are all one, we are all one, we are all one in it.
Yes, we are all one in it. So if you're here, please say hi, hello, good morning, however you want to greet us. When we're in a facility, I can look out and see shining faces beaming back at me. Here I get a number, not even names, and it's always nice to know what my audience is. So please say hi, hello, good morning. If you're stopping by later, just say hello. Let me know that you stopped by. I always like to know that our message is getting out into the world. And if you like something that you hear, either something I say or Faith sings or Oz prays, use that like button. And if you love something, please send us heart. We love to get loves. And if something strikes you as very powerful, which I hope it does, please use the wow button. It gives me the feedback that I need to know whether or when I'm on track. I know I'm on track a lot of the time, but I like to know what that moment is. And so when you use the wow button, it lets me know that was the moment. All right. So without further ado, here is Faith singing Thoughts Become Things from Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver.
Summer into fall and winter into spring. Listen to the call, the thoughts become things. Thoughts become things. I let my wishes ring. I'm awakening, my pendulum swings. Thoughts become things. Blessings they can bring. Ways that I'm aware. My thinking is a prayer. My thinking is a prayer. My thinking is a prayer. Thoughts become things. My wishes sing. I'm affirming now, I'm declaring now, each and every hour I tap into the power of universal law. It brings a state of awe. The magic of the mind is out of space and time. It's out of space and time. Out of space and time. I'm opening. I'm awakening. Thoughts become things, the pleasures they can bring, the treasures of a king. I am one with everything. 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 Summer into fall and winter into spring. Listen to the call, the thoughts become things. 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 Choose good ones.
Thank you, Faith. That was great. You know, it's interesting. When I talked to Karen Drucker in the very beginning, she said, oh, use my videos if you want. And I said, you know, they'll mute us if we do that. She goes, oh, I thought they did away with that thing. I'm like, no. So, one of these days, hopefully they'll get it that Karen Drucker songs and Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver songs are ours. But, whatever. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thoughts become things. So here's proof for you that I am absolutely not perfect. Yeah, right here, right now. When I wrote this book, it was entirely based on this spiritual bank account, which I forgot to mention. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about that. Why it's important is that all along this process, you are supposed to be giving yourself money in your spiritual bank account, and we're going to spend some of that money this week. So now I'm going to introduce it. The spiritual bank account is like a journal. And what you're journaling is you're giving yourself money for every time you practice your spiritual practice. So every time you did a gratitude of any kind, you get up in the morning, you were supposed to be doing gratitude. That was that first week. You gave yourself $100 for doing the gratitude in the morning. And then I said, at your lunch break, do 3 things that you're grateful for. So you give yourself $300 for that. And then at night, I asked you to do 10 things that you were grateful for right before you went to bed. So you were going to give yourself $1,000. So, and then as we have begun to step up to tithing, the first week we did 10%. So you were supposed to give yourself $100 for that and $100 for attending church. So if you fully participated, if you did the gratitude practice, you want to give yourself the appropriate amount of money. Technically, if you did all the practices of gratitude for a full day, what would that be? It would be $100, $400, $1,400 for that day. And then, and each day that you did the gratitude practice, you would give yourself $1,400. And then if, you were at church, which there's some people that come every single week, so you would give yourself $100 for attending week 1. And then if you tithed that week 1%, you would give yourself another $100 in your spiritual bank account. Okay, then on week two, we did. Now I can't remember which week was what. Week 2, I think the spiritual practice was affirmations. Okay, so if you did your affirmations like you were supposed to do, 100 of them a day, and you gave yourself $100 for each affirmation, that'd be $10,000 for each day that you did your affirmations. Plus you'd give yourself $200 for tithing 2%, plus you'd give yourself $100 for attending church. So I'm going to leave it up to you to figure all of that out. And then last week we talked about visualization, because it's really important, excuse me, to visualize our goal, because we set a goal for what prosperity looks like to us. So each time you did the visualization, you were going to give yourself $1,000. It's a powerful practice that has been used by athletes, professional athletes, and very successful business people for years. So if you've been doing that all along, then you would give yourself $1,000 a day for your visualizations, plus $300 for tithing 3%, plus $100 for attending church. So I'll let you calculate all of that up, but that's the money you have to spend right here today. I want to talk a little bit about intention, because intention is everything. I look at intention the way I look at cookie cutters, right? Maybe it's a Christmas tree, maybe it's a puppy, maybe it's I don't know, everybody has their own favorite teddy bears or whatever. The cookie cutter, you sit it into the dough, which I say is the subjective mind, and I'm going to go through that in just a minute. But you set it into the dough, you make a shape, and you stick it on a cookie sheet, and you put it in the oven, and you let the oven do its job to work. We don't open the oven, take it out every 5 minutes and go, oh, it's not forming yet. It's not forming yet. But we do that with our spiritual practices. We think, oh, it hasn't happened yet. Oh my gosh, But what really is happening is that God is working on those intentions that we have set into motion. And again, my word is God. You don't have to use God. You can use universe. You can use intelligence. You can use spirit. You can use great spirit, Allah, whatever word you're comfortable with. But the knowingness that there is a divine intelligence within the world that knows how to create is the point of it. And once we place our intention into that mold, so to speak, we just allow God to fill in the blanks, fill in the dough. And so let me pull up this teaching symbol real quick. This is what we use to describe the process of creation. So it works the same way whether we're talking about God or we're talking about our individual consciousness. But you notice that there is a circle all around it, which is the unbroken unity of all life. And even though you can't part out God, we've split it into 3 parts just for illustrative purposes to be able to talk about this in a way that makes sense. So the upper portion is the conscious mind, and that is God thinking things into being. In the individual, that's us with our intention, you see. And then that middle part is the stuff of God. That's the subjective mind, and it is like silly putty for God, right? So when God has a conscious thought, it uses that silly putty, which is made of itself, to create. In our case, it's like a computer hard drive, which stores every experience we've ever had and our reactions to every experience we've ever had. And so the subjective material in there, when we set an intention and the universe begins to work on it, the only thing that can stop it in its tracks or even impede the progress at all is what we've got stored in our subjective mind, which is our limiting beliefs. It is our, inability to feel like we deserve stuff, that kind of thing. And then the bottom portion is the form of the universe. So when God thinks something into being, has a conscious thought, it goes through God's stuff, and it manifests as a physical reality in form at the bottom there. When we're using this, we have this intention, we put it past our subjective mind, and if there's nothing that impedes it at all, it will absolutely go into form. However, if we have some limiting belief that keeps it from happening, it will never actually get to form. And then the V that's there shows the creative process. It comes from conscious mind through subjective mind into form, and then it goes back into the nothingness from which it came. This is the process that I like to use the example of a garden. We plant a seed in the top, the soil is in the middle, the flower comes on the bottom, and then at the end of the season, it recedes back into the nothingness from which it came. The seed goes underground. You don't see flowers anymore. But that really is the way anything is created, whether you're talking about prosperity or health or love life. All of those things are subject to that creative process. So because we're using it for prosperity, I want us to be actually very aware of what that subjective material is in there. When I set an intention, for example, I'm going to use myself. I want a house in Florida. I found a house that I like. It's probably going to be gone by the time I need to pay for it, but it's $350,000. So in my mind, I have set the intention that I will have enough money to buy that house with cash, right? Now, in the subjective material is, oh my God, how am I going to do that, right? We want to try and micromanage God, and that's where we run into trouble. Because we get attached to the outcome, not like the outcome like $350,000, but the outcome like how is it going to get there? So let me pull up the chart that I used last week. In this upper left quadrant, which is the, oh gosh, now I have to pull it up again. That is the complaint quadrant, I think. But we have very low attachment. Or we have really high attachment and very low involvement, meaning we don't want to participate. We don't want to do the things necessary to get there. But we have an attachment to how the outcome comes. This is the paradigm of going to a Western medicine doctor, because we want to go to the doctor and have the doctor fix whatever's wrong with us without us having to change our diet or exercise or make any lifestyle changes that are necessary to the process. And as you can see, that's not very effective most of the time, because if you're working with Western medicine, for example, there are changes you're going to need to make to your lifestyle. Then the upper right quadrant is the complaint quadrant, where we're not really, we're attached and we have really high involvement. So we're participating. So that's like when you go to alternative healthcare, you're still participating in the program, but you have a very high attachment to the way it looks. And the reason I bring this up now is because I want us to be really clear about how attached we are to the process of it. This upper right quadrant is where we try to force things, where we decide I'm going after this and by God, it's going to work no matter what. And unfortunately, that's not very effective either, because we really need to allow for things. We only have, let me take this off real quick here. We only have a vision that's about this big. God sees the whole picture, but our vision is only this. So if we are in that quadrant and there's no wrong quadrant, please understand it goes in cycles. But if we are in that criticism quadrant where we're really attached to everything and we want to force something, this is all we see. And so we're not very open to what God can provide us. For instance, God is our source and supply. That's my favorite affirmation of all time. God is my source and supply, and I am supplied abundantly. Okay, so when we look at our spiritual source for everything, it is God. And why we do tithing is because we're paying back our spiritual source, or we're giving back to our spiritual source. Now, I of course hope that when you tithe and you're giving back to your spiritual source, I hope that I inspire you enough that I instigate the spiritual source within you. But if it's another church, or if it's another philosophy, or if it's another guru, by all means, tithe to them. Just make sure you tithe. I don't really care who you tithe to. I do care, but I mean, I'm not attached to how you do it. I would like very much for you to tithe to our organization, because it helps us grow. That bottom left quadrant, as I said last week, is the victim quadrant, where you have great apathy. You don't care about anything. So you have no attachment to how it comes out, and you have no involvement. You just want to sit around and not do anything, and you don't care. Grieving is a perfect example of when that quadrant is active. Because, I would sit in my bed, my little cocoon, and not want to do anything. In terms of prosperity, if you don't care, so you don't do anything, and you don't have any attachment to getting anything, then nothing is going to happen. There's nothing for the universe to work on for you, right? That lower right quadrant is the empowerment quadrant. And here you have low attachment, but very high involvement. And that's the place you want to be at, because you want to be doing these spiritual practices so that you increase your prosperity, but you don't want to be attached to the process. Our job is not our source. Our trust fund is not our source. The lottery is not our source. Our tax refund is not our source. Our source is God. And so I know that there are many avenues through which my prosperity can come to me. I'm not relying on the job to provide me my income, because I do know that jobs as a general rule don't really support the lifestyle I want. I don't rely on winning the lottery because, what are the chances, right? I don't rely on any of those things. Those are just avenues through which God provides that prosperity to us. So I stay open to any avenue. You never know. There could be a government program that you could apply for. There could be, a relative leaves you money. There could be any number of ways that prosperity could come to you. And so we want to stay focused on the intention without the attachment to how it comes. We don't want to micromanage God, because you really can't. But we think we can. That's all about control, and control is an illusion anyway. I can't control the way things happen in my life. I don't want to force anything. I don't want to become apathetic. What I want instead is to set my intention in motion and then follow through on the spiritual practices that are going to get me there, right? So today I'm going to be talking about this spiritual bank account. Now, by now you have several $100,000 in there, I'm sure. And so we're going to start spending that money today. And I want to talk a little bit about imagination and how powerful that is. I've said before, when you go to a movie and someone is crying, or, something happens in the movie, you start to cry, even though you know it's fiction. You know that is not really happening in real life right in front of you. But your mind and your body react to it as if it was real. And that's the power of imagination. Another example of the power of imagination is a little mouse called Mickey Mouse. Walt Disney decided that he wanted to, because, everybody hates mice. We are scared of mice. We don't want them in our house. We don't want them anywhere around us, right? And so he decided to take that image of mouse and make it a friendly, cuddly, happy, joyous little thing. And he had great success doing that. And all it took was just developing this character of Mickey Mouse and showing it to people. And we changed our perception, at least of Mickey Mouse. I don't know that everybody started embracing mice, but it changed our perception of that mouse. And so using imagination, that's how he created that. So we're going to use our imagination this week. Now, there may be bills that you want to pay off that have been bugging you, or there may be an item that you really want, and as of up to now, you were not able to get that. You were not able to pay for that. Or there may be something you want to invest in, but you've never had the money to invest. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to start utilizing our imagination by writing checks from our spiritual bank account. Now, what I do is I take a copy of my check and I blank out, all the information that is personal to me, and I provide that to people in my book. But what I do is I say bank of the universe, or mental or a spiritual bank account, or something like that, as the bank that's providing that information. And I make a ton of copies of that. And so if you want to pay off a bill, for example, you know what your bills are because you've listed them out in that worksheet that I gave you at the very beginning. And if you've got, loans or credit card debt or anything like that, you pick one of them and you write 5, 6, 7, 8 checks paying it off completely. And you put those up on your refrigerator. You put one in the car. You have one at work. You have one in your bedroom. You have something that shows you that you've paid that off. The more times you can look at it, the more it's going to train your subjective mind to accept that impress and stop giving you negative feedback, right? And so you're going to write those checks, or, write 4, 5, 6 of them, however many you want to, place them in places where you're always at. Like my family room is a good place for me. I just set it on the coffee table because I eat there. Those kinds of things. And eventually what will happen is you will have more than enough money to pay off those debts. And it won't hurt you to pay off those debts, right? Another thing is, if there's a thing that you want and you've never been able to, up to this moment, been able to pay for. I had a congregant one time that used this exact process when I did my book the first time. And she wanted a Mini Cooper. And she was just lusting after this car. And so she wrote checks for the full amount. She put up a photo of the car, the exact color, the exact model, and she put it up on the refrigerator, and she put the check underneath it, paying it in full. And every time she walked by it, she would go, "That car's mine. That car's mine." And she fully participated in this program. She was using the spiritual bank account. She was writing checks for that. She was doing the gratitude work. She was doing the affirmations. She was doing the meditations. She was doing the visualizations. She was doing the spiritual mind treatment, which is our form of prayer, which we're going to get to. And she was doing all of that work. Within a month of me presenting this particular week, she manifested a Mini Cooper. And so I know it's possible. I mean, I already knew it was possible, but there's my proof that it's possible. And so I want us to work this week on beginning that manifestation process. So if there's an item that you wanted, maybe it's a vacation somewhere. Maybe you always wanted to go to Tahiti. Well, you pick a resort that you want to go to, and you put a picture of, people having fun at the resort, or even just the resort itself. And then you pay it in full, the whole vacation, airfare, the resort fee, the food, all of it. You just, write a check from your spiritual bank account and put it up there. And put it in as many places as you can. I like them in my bedroom in particular because I can look at that last thing before I go to bed. And your subjective mind works while you're sleeping to create the last thought that you had. So if the last thing that you see is a paid vacation in Tahiti at this resort, then your subconscious mind is going to be working on that all night long in a way to provide it for you. I also, like I said, like it on the coffee table because then every time I'm eating, it's right there. I also like it on the refrigerator because how many times a day do you go to the refrigerator or even walk past it? I like having it in my car, not that I use it while I'm driving. Please don't do that. But when I get into the car, I have it right there. I look at it before I get started. And when I get to my destination, I look at it and it's there. Okay. So this is how you're going to be using this time. Perhaps it's an investment that you want to make. You're going to write a check for an investment to a specific fund, or maybe you're into Bitcoin, maybe you're into, hedge funds, whatever it is that you're into, you write that check from your spiritual bank account, paid in full. And so this week, I'm going to have you do that for either paying off all your bills or an item that you want or a vacation that you want that you've never been able to pay for up to now, or an investment that you would like to invest in, but you've never had the money to do so. So that is going to be your spiritual practice this week. For every time you write a check and every time you see that thing, you're going to give yourself $100 in your spiritual bank account. So conceivably, if you put it everywhere that I'm talking about, conceivably, you could be looking at it 100 times in one day. That's $10,000 in your spiritual bank account. So I want you to do that. This week, we're going to do 4% because we're stepping up. We're going to tithe 4%. So you'll be giving yourself $400 in your spiritual bank account. And of course, you get $100 for being here at church. But if you're still doing your gratitude work, you're going to give yourself the $1,400 a day for the gratitude work. And if you're still doing the visualizations, you're still going to give yourself $1,000 for that. And if you're doing 100 affirmations a day, like you should be, I don't like to shit on people, but in order to get where you want to go, you need to be doing that. If you're doing your affirmations, you're getting $10,000 a day for that. Think about how much that racks up when you really get into all of the little nitty-gritty spiritual practices that you've been doing and giving yourself money to do that. When Lynn and I found this program, or came up with this idea, I should say, we had bought this thing called a mental bank account. And it was really funny because it wasn't based on spiritual practices. It was based on everyday things that you did, you would give yourself money for. And so we would go out and pick up dog poop. And each turd that we picked up was worth $100. It was really funny. It was fun. It became a game. And that's really the sport with which I want you to look at this, is that this is a game. And each time you do any of this stuff, you're giving yourself money. So you're doing your spiritual practice, which is elevating your consciousness, and you're playing a game, which is giving you money in your spiritual bank account. And then you're spending it on what you need to spend it on so that you don't have to stress about things anymore, right? So we're alleviating the stress level in your life, as well as giving you hope and retraining your subjective mind that you are, in fact, having this. Because remember, the mind doesn't know the difference between fact and fiction. So if it keeps seeing that you have paid off that debt, or that you have bought that car, or you have taken that or you have paid for that vacation, or that you have invested that money, every time you do that, you're training your subjective mind to accept it as reality. And it becomes fact in your subjective mind instead of fiction. And so this week, you're going to keep building on all of that, all those spiritual practices. I do understand you're busy. I'm busy. I try to do these spiritual practices every single day because I do know the result is going to get me what I need to buy my house in Florida. my object, for those of you who are worried that I might leave Colorado, no, I'm going to come to Colorado for summers, and I'm going to live in Florida for the winters, actually for fall and spring too. And until it gets too hot, then I'll come to Colorado. But as I do these spiritual practices, and as I deduct time from other things that I might think I need to do or want to do, as I deduct that time to do my spiritual practices, I'm knowing that it gets me closer and closer and closer to that $350,000 that I need to buy that house, right? So that's the mindset. Fun, dedication, keeping your sights focused on your intention and what it is that you're trying to accomplish by prosperity. Also, I'm not sure how to get this to people. If you request, I can send you this values worksheet because we want to be in integrity with our thoughts, our actions, and what we say our values are. Now, the organization went through this at one point where they sent out these values worksheets to staff at every church, ministers at every church, practitioners within the movement, board members within each church, the home office staff did it. And everybody filled this out and picked 10 of the values that they felt were the most important to them. And so this consultant firm that gave this to us was like, wow, no wonder you don't get anywhere. You have no driver, you have no vehicle, you have, because nobody could agree on what the 10 core values would be. And let me talk about those values just for a moment, because they don't have to be the values for the rest of your life. We're going to do these values based on what we think today. What is the most important value to me today? And you can always rearrange those. If you feel like you want to work on, say, relationships, you might put that one up higher than prosperity or something like that. But if you request, send me a DM on Facebook, I will make sure that you get this worksheet so that you can circle the values that are important to you. The reason I say that is the values that we say we believe in, we measure every decision we make against those values, whether we do it consciously or not. I'm asking us to do it consciously, but everyday life we do. And if we value something, when we measure those decisions up against that value, it will determine whether we do or don't do something. And so it's very important that we determine what our values are in this moment. Now, our church did it, and we were able to agree on, I think it was 8 total. And those are the values that we posted up in our church. And for us, prosperity, I think, was 3rd or 4th on that list. What was most important was spiritual growth, those kinds of things, a community, love. And then I think that the next one was prosperity. And we did okay. We did fine with prosperity. But there were times when I thought maybe we should put prosperity first, just so that we could fund the church better. But we kept those values. But that's how you're going to work with your values. So you're going to select the 10 most important values to you, and you're going to put them in order of 1 to 10. And every time you make a choice, I want you to look at those values and determine whether your thought, actions, and deeds will match up to what you say your value is, right? If I say prosperity is my value that's most important to me, and I don't take any action towards it, and I don't think about prosperity, I start thinking about poverty, or if I don't allow myself to actually revel in the prosperity I do have and be grateful for it, if all of those things are not happening, then we really don't value prosperity as much as we think we do. But, it's okay if that isn't your top priority. But working this program, I'm going to ask you to put it up to the top. Because in order for us to facilitate your goal being met, the intention you've set, then you have to have prosperity at least, if not the top, the 2nd or 3rd, so that you can work towards that value. So this week, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to continue your gratitude, continue your affirmations, continue your visualization. And then I want you to write these checks from your spiritual bank account. You're going to probably have to record all the work you did up until today. But, and then you're going to spend that money out of your spiritual bank account and put pictures up and put checks up, and make sure that you look at it as many times as possible. And you're going to tithe 4% today. So that's going to be your homework for this week. And if you want this values worksheet, just DM me on Facebook and you can do the values worksheet so you can get more clarity about what your actual value system is. Let's have a prayer. How amazing.
You were muted. You were muted.
I unmuted myself.
No, you took yourself out of the broadcast. Let me put you back in.
I turn my awareness now to the infinite power, the infinite presence, the infinite life of God. To that place within me that knows beyond human understanding how beautiful, how powerful, how amazing, how awesome God is. And that is where I find myself, in the midst of God, my very essence, my very life, my very being. It is who and what I am. And every thought, every action, every deed is guided and led by that ancient wisdom of the ages that flows through all of life and flows through me. I know that this team that God has provided is guided and led by that same ancient wisdom of the ages that flows through them as well. Because we are all one. There's no place where one of us leaves off and the other begins. And it is this team that God has provided that has the potential to change the world in everything that we do. I know the same truth to be so for every name that is in the ministry of prayer today, or every person here. Whether that's in real time or later on. For that same unbroken unity, that same connectedness is through all of us, through all of life. Inanimate and animate objects alike. There is only one. And so right now, I just experienced that oneness. Mataki Yasin, we are related, all my brethren. So this coming week, I bless with opportunities for us to experience what it feels like to know that we have more than enough to share and to spare, more than enough to pay off those bills, more than enough to take that vacation we've always wanted to take, or to buy that car or whatever item has been calling to us all of this time. Or to invest in something that we think is going to reap wonderful rewards. But that experience that we have this week is going to be one of a knowingness that the imagination and our intention is creating that reality, in fact. And so as we go through our spiritual practice this week, I bless it as good and very good. And I know that every name that is in the ministry of prayer today is blessed with that same powerful presence of God. No matter what they are experiencing right now, I know God is the answer. And so I pull back the veil and I reveal that truth here and now as I claim for them the new reality as good and very good. I claim it in their name. My heart fills with gratitude. to know that this is so, to be of service in this way. And I just let this be. And so it is. Amen. Whew.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirits on earth, and who you are, and all you do is blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are, and all you do is blessing to the world.
All right. Right now is our opportunity to receive your gifts, tithes, and offerings, and your opportunity to share with gratitude that which you have received in the physical realm, or perhaps what you have already created in that creative process through the mind of God, but have not yet seen it in physical reality. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to go to www.oasiscsl.org and say the offering affirmation with me about 2/3 down the page. Underneath that is a Contribute Now button. So let me just talk really briefly about contributions. Because when I'm asking you to step up to tithing in this way, or you're pressing that Contribute Now button and you're contributing, in a facility, we have rent, we have utilities, we have all those things. We don't have those anymore because we're not in a facility. What we do have is marketing we have to pay for. She's licking my hand. Marketing that we have to pay for in order to be global. And so our vision is a healed world globally. And our mission is to heal the world one person at a time. And we cannot do that if our message doesn't reach the world. So right now, we already have people joining us from the Netherlands or Holland, the UK or England, Great Britain, however you want to say it, Germany, the Philippines, Sri Lanka, and India. And so with your contributions, we are able to reach the rest of the world as well, to uplift and inspire those with our message. And it depends on the contributions that we receive, how much we can do that work. So right now, I'd like, whether you're on real time or later on, go to www.oasiscsl.org and say this offering affirmation with me. And it doesn't matter if you're here in real time or later on, you can do this. This perfect gift is spirit in form, circulating and blessing all it touches. Freely I give and joyously I receive. And so it is. All right, click on that Contribute Now button and help us reach our mission, our vision by funding our mission. Okay, thank you. All right, we have this wonderful team of licensed practitioners from coast to coast who serve our church in various ways. The first way, well, there's 3 ways. The first way is that if you would like prayer for something, you can put it in the comments section and they will pray on those requests every day for a week. If you don't want it to be public, you can, of course, let Faith know and she will make sure our God Squad gets it. We call our licensed practitioners the God Squad because I like the imagery of them walking in and taking charge, which they do. And so if you don't want it to be public, you can just DM Faith and she will make sure that the God Squad gets those prayer requests. But they will pray on those every day for a week. And then the second way that practitioners serve our church is providing spiritual guidance sessions by appointment for a fee. And so you reach out to them by Facebook. Right now, that's Oz. And let them know that you would like a session for spiritual guidance. And he will let you know how to pay for it. I don't get involved in how the practitioners run their business. They are separate businesses from us. Some of them use PayPal, some Venmo, some Cash App, Zelle. And I, like I said, I don't really get involved in all that. They will let you know how to pay for that. And then they'll reach out to you at the appointed time by video chat to provide you with a session for spiritual guidance. The third way is what Oz does every Sunday, and that is practitioner of the day. And that means that he does the invocation, the benediction, and he's available at the end for our 1-minute miracle. Not a time for counseling, not a time for spiritual guidance, just a moment where you can share with him whatever challenge you're experiencing, and he will stop, drop, and pray with you right then and there. So reach out to him by video chat after the service. If he doesn't answer right away, it means he's busy with someone else. So try back later. Okay. So that's our licensed practitioners. I like to always acknowledge Brooks and Bailey. They are two women who do amazing jewelry work. One of the things they do is mala beads, which assists us in doing our affirmations. All of the benefits go to Rocky Mountain Lab Rescue, and you can reach out to them by at Brooks and Bailey 0307 at Gmail or on their Facebook page. Whenever they have a booth at any event, I always try to share it on my page. So you can go see them in person. But these are the amethyst beads. There's 108 on a necklace. These are 60. They have all kinds of different stones, starting with $30 and up. They have bracelets that I think are, if I remember right, $15 to $20. Don't quote me on that. But you move one bead at a time. That's what the Hindus and the Buddhists do. They move one bead at a time when they do their chants. And I think that's an excellent way to keep track of all of your affirmations. If you're doing 100 a day, that's once on the necklace and twice on the bracelet. So, all right. The next thing is an Etsy store by Angel Renee. She has intention candles and an intention tea bag that you put into your bath. She uses aromatic herbs to help you focus on something. And we like you to focus on your intention. So that's why we call them intention candles. Anyway, check out her Etsy store for that. Let's see. Reverend Fairy Lane Silver. We like to support those who support us. And like I said, Reverend Fairy Lane Silver has asked us to use her music in our Sunday service. So go to her website. She doesn't have a way to change her website to tell you how to pay for it. So reach out to her by email once you decide which CD you want. She travels around the country singing, so she always has them in her car, in the trunk of her car. And once you've paid for them, she'll send them out right away. She's really good at doing that quickly. The other one is Karen Drucker, and her website does work. You can pay for it right there. You can buy it by the song, by the CD, by the karaoke file, by a songbook. Some of her songs in her songbook have American Sign Language in case you wanted to learn how to sign one of the songs. But check these ladies out and definitely support them because they do support us. And she contributed her or donated her entire collection, 20 CDs at the time, 4 years ago to us so that we could have music on Sunday service. All right, and check out our website at www.oasiscsl.org. There you're going to find pictures of events that we've had so you can get to know your spiritual family. We are working to update the website. We know it's out of date. I've had a lot of stuff get in the way, but we are working on it. It's just taking time. In the meantime, you can go to YouTube and SoundCloud under S. Tucker. YouTube has the video sermons for the last 4 years, and SoundCloud has the audio sermons from all the years prior. And again, it's under S. Tucker. All right. I'm going to turn this over to Oz. You're muted.
There we go. I know that right here, right now, not only are there cats, both of them in my lap, but God's presence animates both of them and me, for God's presence animates all of being, in us, as us, all around us. God's presence uplifts and exposes itself in the wildest of places. I know that God's presence works through each of our lives, creating miracles from one day to the next, and I accept the perfection of those miracles as they occur. I know this is good and very good, and I let it be so, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. I know there's 1,000 things you could be doing on a Sunday morning, and we were blessed to have you here with us instead. I want to make sure that you reach out to me by DM if you want to get that values worksheet, blah, blah. And tune in next week for stop number 5. As every week, we're going to be doing this for 10 weeks total. So we've got, 6 more weeks of this. But we are at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time every Sunday. So definitely be here next week and every week. In the meantime, stay safe. We love you. Bye.